The story begins with a soldier following the footmarks of a wolf, and shortly afterward, he finds a wolf barking at a bear. And this sight forces the soldier to pull back in fear. Next, Igor with his junkie son arrives at a cemetery. He forcefully puts his son on his shoulders and heads towards the cemetery, and lays him in a grave, revealing, one of his friends died here in the prime of his life, as he was a drug addict just like you. Afterward, Igor shows his son, while dragging him, the graves of those people who died in their young age just because of consuming drugs. Actually, Igor wants his son to give up on drugs, but this junkie isn't willing to do so. Afterward, he arrives at a resort along with his son. Igor handcuffs his son so that he may not consume drugs, and afterward, he leaves. Igor eats dinner with his friend Yura, while telling him how his son got addicted. Meanwhile, Vova tries to reach out to his shoe, as his craving is getting uncontrollable. He pulls the rag slowly towards himself, but fails. Igor reveals to Yura that the police are searching for him, flabbergasting him. Outside, the police are on the lookout for Igor, and one of the cops follows the tracks left by Igor. The cop doesn't find Igor there, instead he finds a massacre done by rabid wolves. He gets alert, pulling out his rifle. At a distance, the cop discovers the footmarks of wolves. He quickly informs his seniors about this incident. The next morning, Vova wakes up and demands his father to give him a dose, but Igor gives him nothing and leaves. Outside, Yura orders his son to destroy his video game. With a heavy heart, Yura's son smashes his video game, saying, "You aren't a good father." Yura informs Igor that a wolf gutted a man at the tower last night, and this drew the attention of the police. So, there is no way to leave by car now. Inside the house, Vova still tries to get to the shoe, using a wooden stick, and after a few minutes of hard work, Vova manages to recover his shoe. He was just about to take a dose, then Igor bursts into the room and snatches the packet. Vova begs him to give him a pinch of the substance, but Igor brushes off his request and gives him a painkiller to mollify his pain, but Vova doesn't take it, saying, "I don't need it." Yura comes home and gives Igor a pain medicine for Vova, and reveals that there is no one at the tower. Hence, if you are willing to leave, then set out early in the morning. Just then, Yura and Igor spot a wolf, standing a couple of meters away, and it looks ready to charge at them. Igor and Yura start fleeing at the sight of the wolf. However, Yura is attacked by the menacing creature. The wolf dismembers Yura right before Igor's eyes, leaving him helpless as a bystander. Igor escapes into the house before the wolf holds onto him. Nevertheless, the wolf breaks into the house through the back window, and attacks Igor and later Vova. Igor grabs a baton and begins to thrash the creature until it gives up the ghost. Vova is utterly freaked out after the encounter with the rabid wolf. Igor takes the carcass and places it in the backyard. After a while, other people from the town assemble outside the house, inquiring about Yura. Igor tells neighbors that the wolf killed Yura, and that he killed the wolf. Inside the house, Vova continues yelling due to his intense craving for the substance. Therefore, Igor stuffs a rag into his mouth and throws him into the basement. And afterward, he appears before the townsmen. Moments later, Yura's son arrives and begins to cry after finding his father killed. In a while, the police arrive there after having been informed about a wolf attack. A police officer investigates the scene, following the trail of blood. The cop informs his captain that Igor killed the wolf in the house, and then brought it outside. The captain approaches Igor, asking him to go inside the house to write the report, as it is chillingly cold outside. The captain and the cop walk into the house, and shortly afterward, they hear Vova's cry. Then, Igor informs the captain that it is his junkie son. The captain orders Igor to open the basement straight away. So, Igor opens the basement, showing Vova to them. The captain orders Roman to go outside to cope with the situation. The captain gets Vova out of the basement by Igor, and asks him to remove the gag. Vova tells the captain that his father is out of his mind, and tortures him. Then, Igor reveals to the captain that he brought Vova here to free him from this addiction, and shows him a packet, full of the substance. Afterward, Igor tries to grease the captain's palm, saying, "This is my son, officer, and I want to save him at any cost." The captain picks up the bribe, warning Igor to keep his son quiet, and leaves. He comes outside and asks the townsmen to return to their houses, as it's not safe for them. Just then, the whining of dogs is heard in the distance, possibly because the wolves are brutalizing the shepherd dogs. Keeping his rifle at the ready, Roman gingerly steps toward the barn and finds a woman sitting wounded. Roman gets on top of the shack and discovers the carcass of a dog in the sheepfold. Just then, he is ambushed by a wolf. Roman falls into the sheepfold, and the wolf tries to kill him too, but Roman shoots it in time, saving himself. Afterward, he comes out and tells everyone that he managed to kill the creature. Meanwhile, Igor escapes the town with his son on a snowmobile. Vova spots a pack of wolves chasing them, forcing Igor to drive the vehicle fast. Nonetheless, a rabid wolf pounces upon Igor, knocking him down. However, Igor grabs his rifle and succeeds in killing the wolf, and afterward, he flees to the taiga with his son. Soon after, they reach the taiga, sheltering in a decrepit shack. He properly locks the door, while saying, "I am doing all this for the sake of you, my son." Igor turns on his torch and finds the room at 6s and 7s. The captain and Roman also arrive there, tracking the marks of the snowmobile. After coming out of the car, the captain asks Igor to come out. Soon, the captain and Roman are surrounded by a pack of hungry wolves, and sensing the lurking danger, the duo starts firing at wolves. However, one of the wolves catches onto the captain's leg. Roman comes there in the nick of time, and traps the wolf inside the van. Just then, another wolf attacks the captain, but Roman again saves him by putting the wolf to death. And afterward, they leave, before the wolf, trapped in the van, escapes. In the shack, Vova discovers an entity in the corner of the abandoned house. Roman and others approach the moving thing, covered in bare skin, and find a terrified man hiding there. The terrified man begins rampaging, but is brought under control by the captain and Roman. They see that the man is infected and he will die in a day or so. The captain, Roman and Igor quietly come out of the shack and begin making stakes to protect themselves from the wolf. Subsequently, they come to the van and check on the trapped wolf. And shortly after, they manage to kill the wolf altogether. In the house, the scared man reveals that it is still here somewhere. Roman asks him who he is talking about. Then, the scared man says, "It's a bear, and it is about to arrive here." However, Igor and others consider him to be scared and crazy and take his words for granted. The captain suggests to Igor that they should give him the substance that is in the car at this time, and this is overheard by Vova. At night, Igor watches a video of Vova when he was in the early stage of drug addiction. Vova forces his wife to tell him where she hid the substance, and when he doesn't find the substance anywhere in the room, he becomes crazy. At dawn, when everyone is asleep in the shack, Vova makes the most of the opportunity and goes out sneaking, in order to get the substance placed in the car. He gets in the car and begins to look for the substance, and shortly after, he finds it, and becomes over the moon. Vova consumes it, experiencing a powerful rush after taking the substance, feeling full of energy. After a very short while, a deadly bear arrives there. Vova starts the van and drives off down the slope and crashes into a tree. This thud awakens all the slumbering people in the shack. Igor immediately comes out, and finds a massive bear aiming at Vova. Vova lures the bear by showing it a candy, causing it to rush to him. Just in time, Igor comes in between, saving Vova. However, the bear gets a hold of Vova and begins to hurt him. Igor attacks the bear with an axe, but the bear is too powerful to be easily conquered. The captain also comes to save Vova, but the bear counterattacks him, hurting him very badly before Roman comes to save him. Roman shoots the bear multiple times and ultimately, he blows its head off. Afterward, they carry the dismembered body of the captain into the shack and lay it on the table to tend to him, but due to much blood loss and several injuries, the captain dies in pain. Igor and Roman hear a growling outside the shack, perhaps the bear didn't die. They grab their axes to face the music. Meanwhile, the bear bursts into the shack, pulling down the ceiling. It attacks Roman and squeezes his head in its mouth, killing him. Afterward, it moves to Igor, but Igor impales a stack into its chest, injuring it. Nonetheless, the bear manages to bite Igor on the neck, infecting him. At the same time, Vova keeps stabbing the bear in the back until it dies thoroughly. Now, the young man, who used to be a junkie, is turned into a dutiful son. He drags his father out of the shack and tries to stop the bleeding. Vova brings a makeshift cart, but Igor asks him to go from there, as it is chilling cold here, but Vova doesn't listen to him and lays him on the vehicle, leaving the shack burning away. Vova drags the cart, while telling Igor the story about his birth and continuously begs him not to die. When Igor doesn't respond to him, Vova checks on his father and finds him dead, causing Vova to burst into tears. Right then, 2 police cars pass from there, rescuing Vova. Months later, Vova arrives at a seashore with his wife, Varya. He approaches a mound of stones under which he buried his father. He tells his father that it has been a year since he stopped taking drugs, and that he is no longer a junkie son, while the winds rustle. Just then, Varya comes there, cuddling her husband. Vova says a final goodbye to his father, and afterward, he takes off his clothes to swim into the sea.